When it comes to Bill Belichick and the Atlanta Falcons, everybody has an opinion, and his former player, Hall of Famer, future Hall of Fame tight end, Rob Gronkowski, is no different. He was on Up and Adams with Kate. It's Kate Adams, right? I believe.
Hey,
Anyways, Kay Adams, Kay Adams. He was on Up and Adams, and he was talking about Bill Belichick and how he fits. And he did mention the possibility that maybe Bill Belichick takes a year off. Maybe he doesn't get the opportunity that he likes, takes a year off, re-enters the hiring pool. He talked about how he did that, and all of a sudden you're focused and ready to go. But he did say he thinks the Atlanta Falcons not only should hire Bill Belichick, that they should give him 100% control of the team. He's been there. He's done it. He's done it in New England. He's done it well. And he's all bought on. And I thought it was interesting coming from a former player, a guy in Gronkowski. You know, there's been kind of murmurs and things that have been said about how playing for Bill Belichick isn't fun and stuff like that. Regardless, the guy still holds them in high regard when it comes to building a team, building a staff, coaching, and winning. He said he could get the Falcons turned around and back to the playoffs overnight.
yeah, he operated essentially with full autonomy in New England for more than 2 decades. He pretty much is the architect of the greatest sports dynasty we've ever seen, with the help of the greatest quarterback of all time. But a lot of people, Tom Brady himself credits Bill Belichick with his development, and I think you'd be a fool not to. The fact of the matter is, in the past 5 years or so, the guy has had a terrible track record in terms of front office decision making. I'm blanking on his name, but the last first round pick they gave a second contract to was like a decade ago. That is a terrible track record. You don't have to look very far in his past draft picks, even in his free agent picks, other than like Matthew Judon. To show that he isn't capable of doing it anymore, or at least he needs somebody to at least bounce ideas off of. And I know that Gronkowski is going to hold Bill Belichick in high regard, but the fact of the matter is Gronkowski was a little ant in New England. He didn't see things from a bird's eye view. He had no idea what was going on other than what was going on the field. He admitted at times he never watched film. He just looked at Brady and asked Brady what to do. So I wouldn't put too much weight into what Gronkowski says. Robert Kraft told Bill Belichick not to trade Tom Brady and to trade Jimmy Garoppolo, and he went on to go win a couple more Super Bowls with Brady. So that just shows you that Belichick isn't infallible. He does make mistakes. He has made mistakes. He was stopped from making a mistake. Hell, he probably should have given Brady another couple years in New England. He went to Tampa Bay. The roster wasn't as good as Tampa Bay's, but Tom Brady went and he could still play and got Tampa Bay a Super Bowl. I don't think this is a hot take at all. I think most Falcons fans who are either for or against Bill Belichick are against him with personnel decision-making power.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with him being involved, especially when it comes to the defensive side of the ball and the defensive personnel and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think most people agree that Terry Fontenot has done a good job, especially on the pro personnel side of things. I think it really comes down to getting McKay out there. I mean, he said when he left New England that he doesn't need 100% control. I believe that. And I don't think he's getting that anywhere. I don't think if he waits a year, he's going to get that. I don't think there's a situation out there. I really think it just comes down to McKay. I think Terry Fontenot would still be involved. I don't know who gets to pull the last trigger and everything, but I think maybe Arthur Blanken's involved. I don't love the whole dynamic regardless, but I do think that he's not going to come in here and get 100% control. I think he is a brilliant defensive mind. I think he knows the personnel he needs to succeed on that side of the ball. And I think the other decisions should be left up to everyone else. Defensively, I would be willing to be like, all right, you can have the final say because you know the pieces. You've done this for 20 plus years and you've done a damn good job of it. Even when the Patriots are bad, they've always had a great defense. Everything else, I think you do need to have that back and forth with a guy like Terry Fontenot. And if he does come in, I expect that to be the case. I would be shocked if it wasn't the case. But yeah, as we said, I think it comes down to Rich McKay more than Terry Fontenot. I think he would be willing and maybe even open to the idea of having a guy that he respects who's proven a little something in this league like Terry Fontenot to help him out with these decisions.
A couple of thoughts on what you just said. I think, a standard working relationship between a head coach and a GM is going to involve collaboration. The coach saying, this is my idea for us. This is kind of the player I need. Please go find him. or bring me some options. And then the GM goes, these are the guys we think, this is what's going to be available. So there's always going to be some level of collaboration. And I think that would continue with Belichick. I think, and this is coming from like Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano of ESPN, that basically Belichick is going to bring with him an entourage. And that entourage isn't just coaching staff. That's an entourage of people in the front office. So, Rich McKay's role is going to dwindle. Even though Fontenot may be kept, he's going to have to collaborate with more people who aren't necessarily of his choosing in the front office. So I think there are many layers to all of this. And I think that even logistically, it is a bit weird to kind of force two families together. It feels like unnatural to a certain extent. And I think there should be hesitation from Terry Fontenot and Rich McKay. Arthur Blank just has this fascination with the Patriot way and Robert Kraft and, all the Super Bowl rings. And how could you not? I mean, the success is unmatched. But the fact of the matter is it's going to be a wonky fit because Bill Belichick isn't showing up with just one bag. He's showing up with an entourage of guys behind him, coaches, personnel guys, the training staff. He's going to bring a lot of those guys with him. So I think, that is something to consider. And it's what Graziano and Fowler basically said, it's holding it up.
Let me ask you this, though. Aside from all of the stuff you just mentioned, the front office stuff, the guy that he brings in, just coach for coach, now that Jim Harbaugh is off the table, just from a coaching perspective, if he's not as 100% all in the power, and let's say it's 50% or something like that, how many guys would you really take to have success over the next couple of years other than Bill Belichick, if he's willing to relinquish some of that control that you've heard of? Because I just am not super in love with any of the candidates, to be honest, at this point.
Well, everybody outside of Vrabel and Harbaugh have absolutely no head coaching experience or very little head coaching experience. Raheem Morris had a couple of years there with Tampa Bay. He was an interim here. Steve Wilkes had a year in Arizona. He was an interim as well in Carolina. So in terms of experience, like a proven track record, now it's really just Vrabel and Belichick. The rest of them are kind of just like gambles, and it could work out and it couldn't. So if you're asking me for the surest bet, yeah, it's probably Belichick. And to be quite frank, it feels like that's all Blank really cares about. He doesn't, he doesn't want to hit the home run. He doesn't care about hitting the home run of the Bobby Slowicks, the Ben Johnsons, the next great Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay. He's like, I just want, some level of consistency. I need to know that we're going to be successful. And if that's what you're looking for, you'd be hard pressed to find a more surefire way to, get a above 500 season than Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, if Bill comes in, the Falcons, I would put good money on the Falcons making.
There's no coach in the division that's better. And if they get Kirk Cousins will be the best quarterback. When you have the best coach and the best quarterback, you're probably going to win the division. Hell, if they get Baker Mayfield and Bill Belichick, I would still argue they'd have the best quarterback head coach combination.
And probably the best roster. I mean, the Panthers, maybe the Bucs have a little bit better roster.
Yeah, the Bucs is comparable.
The Saints are aging and keep getting worse, and they can't really make a lot of additions. I mean, listen, I see the attractions of both sides. Ben Johnson would be my number one. I just don't think he's a realistic candidate at this point. Coming up after the break, we're going to get into the championship rounds of the NFC and AFC playoffs.